need to take the president very seriously, but maybe don't take him literally on everything that he says.
U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Canada with, quote, severe fertilizer tariffs. That had some in the industry scratching their heads because he's been reducing these levies on fertilizer imports from this country. Now, if he reverses course, and we don't know if he will, it would make U.S. farmers pay more for these crop nutrients. It could, though, arguably hurt the Canadian fertilizer sector.
A new U.S. tariff threat, this time focusing on Canadian fertilizer.
A lot of it does come in from Canada, and so we'll end up putting very severe tariffs on that if we have to, because that's the way you want to bolster here, and we can do it here.
What happens when a tariff threat aimed at flexing power instead exposes a critical dependency? It begins with fertilizer, not flags. The United States imports more than 95% of its potash, the backbone of modern farming, and roughly 90% of that supply comes from Canada, which is why a vague warning from Donald Trump about very severe tariffs instantly rattled U.S. farmers and markets. Even as he offered no details and quietly acknowledged months earlier that America could not replace that supply domestically. The timing made the contrast sharper. Public smiles with Canada's Prime Minister, stalled trade talks, and a posture of pressure built on the assumption that American ports and railways were leverage. Until Ottawa did something Washington did not expect, it stopped arguing and started rerouting. For decades, Canada's advantage had been paradoxical. Saskatchewan holds about 1.1 billion tons of potash, controls roughly 41% of global exports worth $5.5 billion a year, and ships millions of tons of grain. Yet much of that cargo traveled south through U.S. infrastructure, paying American fees on the way to Europe and beyond. Then, in March 2025, a simple question cut through the room. Why send Canadian fertilizer through American ports when Canada has its own Arctic gateway? The answer led to Churchill, Manitoba, a deep water port on Hudson Bay built in the 1930s, neglected, sold for $1 in the 1990s, and abandoned after a 2017 rail washout, now revived as a strategic alternative. Within days, Genesis Fertilizers announced plans to move 300,000 tons of phosphate in and finished product out through Churchill, scaling toward 1 million tons annually, while the federal government committed $180 million to rebuild rail, expand storage, modernize loading, and extend the shipping season, cutting days off transit to Europe and eliminating U.S. intermediaries.